Well, welcome to this presentation. Is just specifically around the daily cash flow functionality and how to install it into your models. So it is going to be very straightforward and very simple. I've created a little demo called the Daily Cashflow. We'll open that up, excuse me, and we'll see here that we've just got the 4 records that was created in there. So let's just start from the beginning. The Daily Cashflow is a rolling 90-day by day bank position projection. It's based on the budget figures that we create in 5 Forecast 5. We create a daily cash flow worksheet using the data entered in the records in the budget, and then this worksheet can be amended for what you will think will happen each day. And each change will be updated into the projected daily cash closing bank position. Values can be moved from day to day or even removed or overwritten or whatever you wish to do, allowing you to manage the actuals and the expected bank position. The worksheet itself does not update any records inside Forecast 5. So these records are unchanged for any movements or any transactions here, and any changes in those records will reset the original values in the daily cash flow and recalculate the new cash flow based on the new figures that you've entered. So there is 2 things to consider with this initial setup, and this can be done with any forecast that you have. Firstly, going to details and coming into our preferences flag, you'll find down here a setting called weekend payment date. So because the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, are non-bank days, we needed to determine whether you want something that is due to be paid or received on a Saturday, to turn up on a Friday, or to be calculated into Monday. So that is a definite decision that you set from there. So that's one. Another consideration is you need to consider the impact of this setting around debtors invoices and creditors invoices. This is used by Forecast 5 to take the budget figure and determine whether it is done at the month end and then add a number of days, or if it's evenly during the month and add a number of days, because that then calculates the cash flow projection for Forecast 5, which then is the trigger or the driver for the daily cash flow. And the final functionality is the daily cash flow period setting, start date, which normally defaults to the start of the budget. Now, so those settings are just things you need to be aware of and how they impact in that. Okay, right, so the initial setup. So I created a sales weekly record and put in a number here. Now, taking to what I've just discovered, the number of days, set all can be to 20 days, and you'll see that the cash receipt will be moved down a month. All right, so that's because of that setting, or 0 days. Now, to create a daily cash flow, we have installed or created 2 different fields or additional fields here. The frequency field, which gives you weekly, fortnightly, bi-monthly, or monthly, and the day index of that setting. So this would be weekly on day 1. Now that will trigger from here at $11,500 in the second month. To see this information, you can go to Show System Data, and we will then generate and show all of the relevant data. And on the far right, or along one of the columns now displayed, is the daily cash flow expectation. And you'll see here, it goes down to this day in the week, which is that. Now be aware, weekly and fortnightly are calculated from the start date of your budget. So we need to have the start date, which started on whatever it looks like a Wednesday at that point. So that's why it's then come in on this date. So those are 2 drivers. So that is related to the original start date of the whole forecast, and we calculate from that first day of April. Right. So those settings are there, and they can be do there. So if I literally come back here and we change this to 0 days, we'll get a recalculation straight away to bring it to the 1st of April and so on. Fortnightly, and we can just look at this now. So the fortnightly, we can set that to any day within those days. So we go the 8th day of the fortnight, and we get that money coming through based on the fact that 0 days on the 8th day. So that's fortnightly. The reason we calculate from the beginning, because there will be a certain period, or 2 periods per year, that there will be 3 fortnightly days that need to be calculated, and we will calculate that. Bi-monthly, twice a month. So bi-monthly on the 15th, when we have one on the 15th and one on the 30th. February obviously will come back to the 28th, or similar like that, and something there. And then monthly. Sales monthly will trigger from a day, any day up to 31 days based on what you've got there, and we will truncate or shorten down those last 3 days back to the 28th if it's February. All right. Now, the settings are applicable to every record in the system. So we add a cost record here. We see daily cash flow. We see on our bank account, we see the daily cash flow, because there's the day when the interest will get credited or paid or charged, any of those. And we can also do that on any fixed asset, loan, other asset record, right down to almost exactly that. Even our tax provision will have those settings. So the introduction of all those is throughout the system. Right. Now, having created all of these settings, we will just hide the system data because it creates an overhead, and we can now go and look at the daily cash flow report itself. So we get this option to select the bank account to generate it. So if we're running multiple bank accounts, we can do that. In this instance, we haven't, so we'll go bank account, main bank account, and we will generate basically a worksheet. So this is our monthly, weekly figures, fortnightly figures, all coming in, scrolling down to our receipts total, all of the payments, activity is listed there, giving us a net cash flow and a final projected bank balance. Operationally, you might realize that that's not going to happen on that day, but there's going to be $2,000 coming in here, and you'll see that this changes immediately down here, and the other 300 will turn up on Thursday, something like that. So this is your option now to continually maintain this on a rolling 90-day basis. So each month can be updated, and 90 days is the reasonable period to look forward to if you and project outwards, right? So this daily worksheet, and as I said, if I change a figure in this, and it'll recalculate it, that no changes in here are going to be written back to your budget figure. So it is a worksheet that you can operate with. We also generated a report. And so the daily cash flow report comes through and gives you a complete presentation of the information you've already got, and the export to clipboard function allows you to take that out if you wished to Excel or similar. Right, so that really goes through the functionality that we provide around the daily cash flow. And the two last couple of things to be aware of is under the details, you can move the cash flow period forward a month, or if you're driving through actuals, so if we're running the actuals process, then the movement will coincide within that, supposedly within that account date period in the actuals. Now, just one caveat. The daily cash flow position comparison to the cash flow report, it may not necessarily reconcile. That is because there are timing differences. Something that fitted within a month, we may well have moved to Monday the 1st if that was the case, because there's a weekend payment. So there is areas around that where they will not tally or may not tally. And the other issue around that is if you were using journal accounts, so a bank account type journal to do journal transfers, that may also create differences because it's not reported as part of, it's not calculated as a cash flow transaction. Right, that's it. Very straightforward, very easy, and hopefully very useful.